You know the saying that resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. And that saying is so fitting because when we are sitting in and struggling with resentment, it feels terrible, but just for us. Because more often than not, the person that we are feeling resentful towards doesn't even know that we have all this resentment, and so they don't really feel anything. So I want to talk today about resentment and a few ways that we can get ourselves stuck in resentment and what we can do about it, because who wants to be drinking poison and feeling that terrible that often? It's not always easy to just snap ourselves out of this one. So I hope that the tools that I teach you today will really help with that. Stay tuned. I think you're gonna like this one. I've been using this and it's been really, really helping me. If you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. And if you are back again, make sure that you say hello in the comments section below. Love connecting with all of you down there. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. The subscription button is, I think, about right down there, if I got that right. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my membership community, the Shift Society. This is where we take this work deeper. This is where we do this transformational stuff in community with support, with tools and step-by-steps. Make sure that you do get in there. The link to get on the wait list for the Shift Society is in the description below. And right now, the only way to get in is through the wait list. So make sure that you do get onto that. And I help heart center go-getter men and women break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And resentment, like I said, this is a big one that really holds us back, can really just sort of fester and simmer in there. And I want you to take a minute now, and I want you to think about anyone in your life that you have resentment towards. If it's a boss, if it's a parent, if it's a partner, if it's a friend, who is that person? And just take a minute. Who is it that you are harboring some resentment when you think about them, that you get angry, that you just, that all of these sort of like fiery feelings start coming up in your belly? I just want you to take a minute and I want you to think about what it is that you resent them for. Because the truth is, often what creates our resentment is when someone hasn't done or said or treated us in a way that we want them to treat us, or done what we wanted them to do, or said what we wanted them to say. And so resentment is created by unfulfilled expectations. And the truth is that often that person doesn't even know that we have those expectations of them. More often than not, we have these secret expectations. We have these ideas of how someone is supposed to be, or how someone is supposed to be towards us, or what they're supposed to be doing for us or around us, that they might not even know about. And so that's, like I said before, we can be feeling all of this anger and bitterness and resentment inside, and that person has no idea what's happening. Sometimes we do communicate those expectations. Sometimes resentment comes after we have said something that we wanted, or something that we expected, or we've asked someone for something and then they haven't come through for that. And then we have resentment because of that. And now there is a difference. And so being honest with ourselves, there's a difference between telling someone what we want and just expecting them to do that just because we told them, versus sitting down and having a conversation with someone, a deep or a honest or just an authentic conversation with someone where you've come to an agreement about some kind of change or some kind of thing that's going to happen. And then that person doesn't fulfill their end of the bargain. And then we feel resentful because of that. Now, if that is happening, then that is another issue that needs to be looked at a deeper level. But more often than not, like I said, resentment comes because we have secret expectations that people are not fulfilling, or we've just told them what we wanted and we've just expected them to fulfill that. We've expected that what we want should be as important to them as it is to us. And so then we create a lot of resentment for ourselves because of that. So I want to give you an example of this. I want you to give you an example of my own resentment that came up for me with my husband. So if those of you who follow me on either Instagram or Facebook, you know that just a little while ago, we had a little family road trip up to the lake and spent the week at the lake just relaxing and swimming and floating. And the drive there is about a 5-hour drive. It's a 5-hour drive kind of through some windy roads and through the mountains. And so it's not the easiest drive, but it's not a terrible one either. Anyways, I digress. On the way home, my husband was driving. And because we'd just spent a week having fun, being outside, playing, and, not a care in the world, my kids were feeling kind of restless being stuck in the back of the car. And they were feeling kind of tired and they were feeling kind of antsy. So there was some fighting and there was some fussing and there was some fidgeting, all the F's. And so I decided that I wanted to make sure that my husband could focus on the drive and just really have some quiet and have not just crazy going on in the car the whole time. And so I spent, I would say 90% of our drive, that 5-hour drive, trying to keep kids quiet and engaged and happy and not creating all kinds of chaos. So it was exhausting. I was exhausted. It was a full-time job managing 3 small children, 7, 5, and 2 in the backseat of a car from the front seat for almost 5 hours. So then we got home, we pulled into our driveway, I looked at my husband and I said, "Thanks so much for getting us home safely, for doing such a good job driving." And he looked at me and said, "Thank you." Now on the surface, that might seem completely reasonable to you, but on the inside, things started boiling, things started festering, all kinds of feelings started coming up, and I started to feel resentful. And in my head, I was thinking, "You didn't thank me. You didn't thank me for doing all that hard work for that long, not even recognizing or acknowledging," right? And then all these thoughts start to go through our heads like, "Oh my gosh, like you're so selfish, you don't value me, you don't care about me," and all this like really dramatic stuff that of course is not true, but in the moment, that's just what the human brain does. And so I got myself all upset and he's fine. He's just like unpacking the car and going upstairs and I'm sitting here like seething under the surface, but then I had to get curious. I had to get curious and say, "Julia, what are you doing right now?" And I think that our emotions are such a powerful tool for curiosity whenever we're feeling an intense emotion, to use that as a sign, as a signal to be like, okay, there's something going on. There's something that needs to be paid attention to. And I've talked about that before, about learning how to respond versus react when we're feeling emotional. And responding means that we take a second and tune in and check in and learn from what we're feeling instead of just acting on what we're feeling. And so I did that and I took a few deep breaths. I'm like, "Why are you feeling so resentful?" "Oh, because he didn't meet my expectation, my unspoken expectation about what he should have said to me to recognize the effort that I put in to getting us home safely." So then I got even more curious and started to ask myself, why do you need that approval from him? Why do you need your partner? I mean, it's nice. Of course, it's nice to be recognized and it's nice to be appreciated, but do I need that? And what would it mean for me to give that to myself? What would it mean for me to take a second and say, "Good for me. You did great. That was hard and you did it. And you really showed up," or whatever that is. And giving myself that recognition, because we can do that. We think that it's only other people that are available to make us feel good by recognizing us. But did you know that you could also make yourself feel good by recognizing yourself, giving yourself a pat on the back, a gold star, whatever that is? I say it kind of tongue in cheek, but I'm serious right now. Hearing it from yourself. We so often outsource our good feelings, our sense of pride to other people, waiting for other people to give that to us when we can actually give it to ourselves. And so I did, and I gave myself that recognition. And you might not believe it until you try it, but I felt good afterwards. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I needed to hear. I told myself what I needed to hear. And my resentment went down, and I realized that I was placing expectations on him about what I thought he should be doing, what I thought he should be thinking, and what I was making it mean. That like, well, he obviously doesn't value me. if he's not going to recognize what I did. But his head could be completely somewhere else. He's happy to get home. He's kind of distracted from just having driven for 5 hours. He's focused on unpacking the car. I don't know where his head is. It's frankly none of my business. What is my business is managing my own mind around it and not placing that on to him and thinking that he should know what I'm thinking, which goes back to how we all have our own rule book. How we often place our rules on other people. And I'm going to do a whole video about the rule book. So stay tuned for that, because that is like a mind-blowing, life-changing training in and of itself. But just taking a step back and asking yourself, what am I doing to create my own resentment because somebody else is not acting or doing or saying what I think they should be doing or acting like or saying? And is that really their fault, or is this my expectation to manage? What am I expecting? And is it actually their job to fulfill that expectation? And now some of you might say, yes, it's that person's job to fulfill my expectation, to read my mind, to know what I need, and to meet those needs. And maybe that is true. Maybe you do think that, but I just wanted to take a second. I want you to flip that for a minute. And I just want you to think about how you would feel if someone thought of you that it's your job to meet their needs, fulfill their expectation, know what they need, and try to make them happy. How would you feel if someone else thought that that was your role in life, that was your job in life, is to be doing all those things for them? And I think that this is an important thing that we think about, because so often we put expectations on other people and think other people have to fulfill our expectations. But then if someone else puts an expectation on us, we're like, how dare you? That's not my responsibility. That's not what I'm put on this planet, to make you happy, to do whatever you want. And so thinking about that a little bit, taking more responsibility for our own expectations, taking more responsibility for our own needs instead of outsourcing our happiness to other people when they're not even in here and know exactly what that is that we need for our happiness. We know what we need for our happiness. We are allowed to fulfill that. We are allowed to meet our own darn needs. And often it goes a lot better. Join us in the Shift Society. Get on the wait list. If learning how to just take a sec, like I talked about there, that skill of noticing the feelings and the resentment bubbling up, that skill of being able to recognize it before barking out something, before like clapping at him in some way, my ability to do that did not happen on its own. And if you can't do that yet, do not worry. That has taken a lot of practice, and it's taken learning a lot of different tools and having support and practice, and just really working that out through a lot of what I teach in the Shift Society. So make sure you get in there. But if just to start you off, learning how to just take a step back and take a breath before doing or saying something, just getting curious about what's going through your mind that's creating all of the emotional distress, get my 10-minute guided mindfulness exercise. That's going to be a good starting point for you. It is free. You can get it in the description below. What connected with you? What about this resentment stuff connected with you? And maybe some of you are hanging on to resentment from deeper stuff, from deeper pains or traumas that happened in your childhood or in the past in some capacity, even as an adult. So sometimes there is more going on in there, but really looking at that resentment, and really looking at whether or not keeping it is helpful, is healthy, is healing. So glad you're here. Let me know what connected with you. Like the video, share it out if you thought more people need to hear this. And until next time, take good